All right. Welcome to Voices of the Valley, episode 13. I'm here with Professor of the Year, Mr. David Viar. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate anyone that comes on this podcast. It's just a startup kind of thing. I appreciate it, really.
No, this is great. I'm glad you're doing this.
Yeah, thank you. So you won Professor of the Year. How did that feel, winning that award?
Shocking. So, us over in Mechanical Technologies, we always make fun of ourselves that we're like the redheaded stepchild of the school. We're kind of left alone. It's a little bit different atmosphere over there because we're career-orientated teachers and professors and stuff like that. The majority of us still work out in the field, on a daily basis or weekly basis. So, the topic this year, when I had got nominated for it, was I think the topic was how do you reach students and like give back to the community or something like that. It was like a topic that was right in our wheelhouse. This is something that is super near and dear to all of our hearts. This is something that every instructor over there goes and does. I mean. We have high school welding competitions. I myself, Professor Jim Greer, we go out, we visit high schools, we do community events. We volunteer at all these little, one of them is the Teen Bridge Center in Orland Park. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It's like a little camp for kids that come in, and we go and we volunteer our time there and weld with these little kids and make little projects and stuff like that. So this was the one time, this was like my second or third time getting nominated, and I felt real good about the topic.
Yes.
I knew I had a chance, and it worked out great. So I'm really proud again of not only being nominated, right? I mean, that's the first key is having somebody to pick you out of a crowd, and then winning it, which was quite shocking.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So how do you feel like you reach your students differently than any other professors here?
Not to discount anybody, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
every teacher has their niche on what they do and who they are and what they teach. I've always been a big proponent of working with somebody, and for what we do, it has to be hands-on. Welding is a trade that you have to be there. The teacher has to be involved, the student has to be involved, and there's so much going on. It's not, again, I'm not going to discredit anybody. Everybody's job here as a teacher is difficult, and
of course,
and they love what they do, but we have to go out and get our students. If I taught, say, history, right? Well, that history class is a requirement for them to get their degree. So those teachers already know those students are coming, right? They're going to fill that class up, right? I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. Not that they don't have to do extra work, because they do, but we have to go out and hustle to get our students. We always say that, we got to go hustle with everybody to get our enrollments. That's the only way. I tell everybody, nobody wakes up in August here in Chicago and wants to go and weld. It's just not something that anybody wants to do. You know what I mean? It's 100 out. It's 80% humidity. The last thing you want to go do is put on a leather coat, leather gloves, long pants, boots, and go play with fire.
Yeah, exactly.
So we, to answer your question, I think it's a much more personal level instruction, because we have to work with every student. It's not come in, here's your assignment, and then go to work. It's, come in, I'll do a demonstration, I'll work with you on what our project is. There's a lot of teamwork and stuff like that goes along with it, but it's mostly a one-on-one basis. So that part's real different.
Yeah, so you really get to know your students kind of more personally than any kind of other classroom teachers.
Yeah, correct. At big universities, right? There's 100 kids in a classroom, and that teacher maybe knows 2 or 3 of their names. Which we got to know everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a little bit, it runs a little bit different, and that goes for autos and HVAC. They're just the same as we are. They go in there and they work on oil changes, that show the kids the tools, and HVAC for heating and air conditioning. That they're showing them the pumps and the towers and cooling and electricity. So it has to be one-on-one.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's definitely a little bit more personable.
That's good.
Yeah.
And so do you think you spend more time recruiting in the summer than you do like actually going and welding and stuff?
So in the summer we do a lot of work outside. We partner with a bunch of companies that we go in and we do like weld procedures and testing and stuff like that. Me and Professor Greer, we run a company that does consulting and stuff like that. So we do teach here in summer. However, most of our work is like in fall and spring when the high schools are in.
Yeah.
So we kind of cater to them, you know, on when we could go and reach those students.
Yeah.
So summer school's here. Most of our teachers, they also go out and work. So our class schedule drops dramatically. You know, we have, you know, maybe 30% of our classes running in summer for that 8 weeks. And that's because most of our teachers have to work and go out and do their thing. So summer's a little tough to do recruiting, but I mean, we do some, but not like spring or fall. Spring is real big. Like I said, you know, that's when we have our welding competitions and visit high schools and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
very cool. So do you think you see more students going into welding now than you did before, or do you think like it's less? More?
You know, that's a good question. If I had to look at the numbers, I would almost say it's more, only because welding is becoming a more lucrative type of career.
There's a lot you can do with it.
Yeah, and you know, students hear more and more about it, and more publicity about you know, blue collar trades, and not just welding, but you know, all the trades are hurting for people. So I always tell everybody, years ago, you know, 30 years ago, and anybody that's my age, you know, if you didn't know how to read, they put you in a shop class, right? I mean, that's just the way that the world worked. And right now we're seeing a big drop of all those people that were in those classes are starting to retire. Now, like, you know, pipe fitters and iron workers and all that stuff, their attrition is real good, but right now it's a huge drop of retirees that's coming in to the industries. And say you were surfing the web and you were like, oh, you know, I want to be a welder. Well, if you were to look at like a pipeliner salary, right now they're at $58.85 an hour. Now, any kid that sees that, you know, knowing that you can make,
go wide.
you know, 100 grand a year coming, you know, without any college loans or anything, it looks great. So we always have a real big spike of enrollment, you know, which is real good. And then it slowly starts to taper off. I think people come in, you know, thinking that it's like this glorious occupation, and then they start to realize, you know, this might not be for me. So as you know,
well, it's really hard work.
None of it's easy.
Exactly.
Everything that we deal with is hot, it's heavy, it's, you know, it's steel and moving stuff around, but it's not. It's you know, in my profession, I like to tell everybody is that it's the people that you're around can get anything done. You know, plumbers, electricians, and I mean, I run into guys. I can't tell you the last time I had to pay for something to get done. My very own brother's a diesel mechanic. He works on my truck. You know, being in the trades, you know, roofers, you know, plumbers. You run into everybody. Now, I've done so many side jobs for people. I mean, we've even welded stuff for the school here. You know, so that's a big thing too. But as far as enrollment, we see a real incline when the economy goes bad. So I would assume our numbers will grow now with everything that's going on. So we'll probably see a spike, and then when things kind of taper off, it'll go down, and then, you know, it kind of varies throughout the system of the way that the world's working.
So what do you like most about your job, teaching and also welding? As well?
I tell you, there's nothing better. There's nothing better than a former student coming back that's making it. You know I mean, we got lists of names of students that went into pipe fitters and, you know, boiler makers unions and stuff like that, and they come back and they're like, you know, thank you so much. It really means a lot to me. You know, you helped me out, and that for me is by far the most valuable thing I've ever had. You know, especially coming out of this school. You know, there's so many kids that come in and out, and as you know, for a kid to come back, for a student to come back and take the time out to drive back to the lab and,
Exactly.
give you some props about what you did and
Yeah, it's like
how you
a-
helped them out. It's
Yeah.
so rewarding. So again, it's that's what it all comes down to. It's about helping everybody out, and
Yeah. It's like a physical representation that your hard work is paying off.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they care, and they see when they go out to the field, then they realize how important it was what we, try to convey to them as they were coming through as students,
Yeah, exactly.
which is really important.
So when you were at that age, like where you started going to college, you just got out of high school, was welding like the first idea? Was it where you wanted to go?
No, not at all. Yeah. My very first job is I graduated. I went to Argo Community High School, and
Yeah.
I graduated, and then I went straight into the Marine Corps. My parents told me either you got to work full time or you got to go to school full time. Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, at 17, I didn't want to do either of that. However, going into the Marine Corps probably wasn't the best choice for someone who didn't want to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I went into the Marine Corps, and I was a machine gunner in 3rd Marines.
Well, thank you for your service.
Oh, well, no, it's no problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then when I got out of the Marine Corps, before I had gone in, I was a shop hand at a heating and air conditioning shop in the city. And I had gone in, and they're like, hey, as soon as you get back, let us know. We'll hire you right back on. And hired back on, and one day there was a pipe fitter there. And, he was an old-timer, a typical old-time pipe fitter. Cranky all the time, always carried his coffee. And he had asked me to go out and help him with a job. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a bad day. Like I said, he was real hard to get along with. Well, the guy kind of took a liking to me. I never minded working or getting dirty and stuff like that. And so one day he's like, hey, go get the extra welding helmet out of my truck. I got to weld these things. I want you to watch. And he started welding, and I just fell in love with it. I was like, that is the coolest thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're melting steel, you know what I mean? It's I just couldn't believe it. And then, ironically, I came here. At the time, it was like the only welding program, running by Jim Greer over there. It was the only welding program around, besides a couple of union ones.
Yeah.
And so I started coming here, and that was about it. As soon as I walked into the first class here, I met my first instructor. His name was Charlie Smith, who was a millwright. And millwrights, if you don't know, they kind of know a little bit of everything.
Okay.
They work in like big mills, and they know like gearing and chains and electrical. And I looked at him, and I mean, he was the cat's meow in my eyes, man. I looked at him, I'm like, dude, this dude knows everything. And so I kind of strive to model myself after some of those guys that I mean, they couldn't do no wrong, at least in my eyes. They were tradesmen. That's what I wanted to be, and they knew everything. So I'd come here, and then halfway through, I would work at odd jobs like little weld shops and stuff like that. And then Jim had a connection out at Versant Press. Those that are a little bit older, there was a real big press company here in Chicago that did press brakes for like Chrysler and GM, and they got me a job over there, and that was it. And I've been loving. I think it's the coolest thing in the world to light stuff on fire and melt stuff down and weld stuff together. So
Exactly. Have you had ever any like accidents happen on a job site?
Me, I've luckily, knock on wood, right? I hope that's wood right there. Knock on wood. I mean, I've got your typical burns and cuts and scrapes and multiple stitches and stuff like that, but nothing ever
crazy.
Dramatic or catastrophic. Thank God, or else I probably wouldn't be here. There's a tendency in our industry that if an accident happens, it's usually pretty bad. So it's either all for one or one for all. You know what I mean? So we are especially like here at the school. Anytime I'm out, especially on a job site, and I've worked pipeline jobs and stuff like that, I'm all about safety. I always have my safety glasses on and my welding stuff, and like I said before, everything's heavy. If you're to drop something, if it cuts you, you're going to need stitches or anything like that. But luckily for me, I've skated through. I've been involved or close to some accidents that probably could have been very painful, but luckily I've skated through all of them. So that's a good. Everybody always asks that. Parents are real big on on protecting their kids. So
Of course.
that's one of the most questions I get from parents are, you know, how do I know my kid's going to be safe? You know, and we always just tell them, well, you know, is your kid a meathead? Because if he is, he's probably going to get hurt, and if not, then he won't. You know, it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
You know, it's all based on the person.
Of course. So when you started welding, what like drew you to it the most besides just melting stuff down? Was it the people? Was it the kind of like the trade aspect?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
a lot has to do with the people.
Yeah.
Anybody that knows anybody in the trades, it's a very, I don't want to say immature, but it's a you know, even grown men that play jokes and have fun. It's a very jovial environment.
Yeah, it's
you
like
know?
a brotherhood kind of
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. You know, everybody looks out for everybody. I think that what attracted me the most, at least when I first started, was at the end of the day, right? Like I would look at what we built, and I was just in awe of it. And knowing that I had a part,
Yeah.
you know, in that, I mean, we would build brake presses that were 210 tons. I mean, they're just these gigantic weldments that were built in this factory. And you look at it, you're like, I can't believe I did that. That I was part of that. Or even like stairwells or fixing stuff for people is such a rewarding thing when they bring you something. I had a real old woman came to me at a shop, and she had an old potato peeler. And it was an aluminum potato peeler that, like, her grandmother's grandmother brought back from Poland or something.
What?
And it broke. The handle broke on it. And she's like, "Can you?" And I knew it was probably a crapshoot to fix this thing. It was about paper thin, and I ended up, you know, kind of repairing it to it would be usable. And that lady cried for like 10 minutes. You know, offered me money. I told her, I'm like, just go peel some potatoes for us. You know, it was really nice. But you know, at the end of the day, when you know that you were a part of something and everybody worked together, it gives you a real good. It's like being part of a sports team. You know, there's like a camaraderie to it, and everyone gets to look at it and know that you had, you know, something to do with that. So I think that's the most attractive thing is number one, the people, and then number two would be knowing that you're in that paycheck and you were part of something that.
Yeah. You get to see the work you did.
Exactly.
Especially if you did on something big. Have you ever worked on anything really big, like around here?
I've worked on some buildings down in the city, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, just, you know, little micro parts to like stairwells and you know, some I-beams and stuff like that. We do a lot of glass work, you know, like framing for glass and stuff like that. I don't know if you know, I don't know how long you've been here, but me and one of our instructors, Amanda Young, went and x-rayed the elephants down at the Field Museum.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we volunteered. We went down in there and x-rayed the elephants. They wanted to know what was inside of them.
Yeah.
And it was such a, you know, they closed the museum down at night, and we were in there and we were x-raying them and all the, I don't know what the big shots are called in the museum. They got a name for them. Whatever. You know, like the head bug dude or the head skeleton guy or whatever his name was all over us because, you know, we couldn't touch them and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
So, but that was it. That was a pretty publicized thing, you know, which was real cool. And then other than that, you know, I've gone all over. I've gone to Georgia, you know, did some pipeline work down there. We're real heavily involved with the American Welding Society. A real big job I did a couple years ago in the height of COVID, ironically, is I went to Poland and I did a job for Lockheed Martin.
Oh, wow.
Training a couple guys on aerospace welding and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
So I was out there for 2 weeks, and it was pretty interesting, you know, traveling and being out there.
Yeah, how was that trip?
It was interesting to say the least. You know, I think what I learned the most is how young America is.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Poland and that area
has a lot of history
so
to it.
Old.
Yeah.
You know, and they live way different. I think everybody should go to a different country and see what it's like.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'd wake up in the morning and there was lines of people waiting for baked bread. You know, you know, there's no bread in the grocery store, so they all go and make their own breads and buy bread, and you know, it's a big thing over there, and just a way different way of life.
Yeah.
I mean, totally different. Which, you know, being a spoiled American over there, you know, you're always looking for.
Do you speak any Polish?
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. I didn't then, and I still don't now. You'd think I would have learned a little bit, but it would have been good. It would have been smart, you know, for a couple words. but they were real good with speaking English.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, all the guys most of the guys I had worked with were from America that transferred there.
Yeah.
So that was a huge help. And then, like at the hotel, most of them spoke English somewhat, enough to get by.
Yeah.
So that was a huge help. You know, it was definitely interesting though. You
Yeah.
know, you'd go to I'd go to a grocery store and they got different money and to fill up a gas tank. Man, I mean, I was so lost. I was like, this is bonkers. I don't even know what to do. So, but it was really cool to go over there and to see it and be part of that. So that was really good.
Yeah, that sounds like a really fun trip.
Yeah, well,
and that welding took you there.
Yeah, exactly. Like who would have thought? If somebody would have told me, 20. I've been here for 10 years full time.
Yeah.
If somebody would have told me 20 years ago that I'd be in the spot I am today, I probably would have beat them up. I wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah, exactly.
Who would have thought that welding, just a simple, skill that you learn could take you, to almost a limitless opportunities. And here I am now talking to you as Professor of the Year, and 20 years ago, I just wanted to melt stuff together.
Yeah, exactly.
I never would have thought it. So I'm very gracious. I mean, every day I wake up, I'm like, I can't believe that this is my life. I mean, it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you end up getting the job here? What made you come back to Moraine after doing your welding job?
So I had Jim Greer was doing a union class on Saturdays, and at the time I was a union welder.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'd appreciate if you come in, if you could do this class on Saturdays as part-time. And I started that as a part-time instructor on Saturdays, working with all these union guys and stuff like that. And then that went like 2 or 3 years, and then I took a little hiatus. I got a job at Philips Medical Systems, welding MRI tubes and X-ray tubes together. And it was like the Taj Mahal of welding gigs. I worked in a lab. I wore shorts.
Yeah.
I had a lab coat on. We listened to music nonstop, and it was real highfalutin. So I was there for about 10 years, and then there was a class coming up to become a certified welding inspector, which in our industry it's real big. It's like a top tier. It's a top tier thing to get in our industry. I went and I got that. I passed that, and Jim's like, "Why don't you come on back and teach for us again?" So I started teaching part-time again, and then he pulled me to the side one day and he's like, "Hey, there's going to be a full-time job opening up." And at the time, anybody here will tell you, like, the way that they structure the money, as a teacher, it's not as lucrative as you would think. You probably should edit that out of this clip, but when I was doing it, like, the money didn't seem like super lucrative. But what they don't tell you is, that doesn't include summer and some of the benefits and stuff like that. And at the time, I was doing pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, I was raking in some good money at the time at Philips, and I really didn't want to jump jobs. I was real comfortable over there, and he's like, "Listen, you want this job." He's like, "Trust me, you want this job."
Yeah.
And then I was milling it over. He's like, "Listen, man," he's like, you want this job. You want to work here. So I'm like, all right, so I'll do it. Well, at the time, I don't know how many people applied for it. And, 3 other instructors from our department applied for it. And I really didn't think, I was kind of in the running. I was like, all right, I'll apply for it just to let him know I went for it. And then that way I didn't feel so bad if I didn't get it, knowing that I at least tried.
Yeah.
And then I made it into the top 3, which I was shocked. I was like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. And the final interviews came around, and then ironically, a job at Argonne National Laboratories opened up, or not at Argonne, at Fermilab. Which is a union shop up there, opened up. And they called me in for an interview. You had to be an inspector. You had to be a certified welder. So I had everything. I had everything that they were looking for. However, what they wouldn't allow me to do was to teach here part-time. It was like a union conflict of interest that if I worked there, I wouldn't be able to teach here.
Yeah.
And I love to teach here. So I was like, nah, I don't know. So at the time, they had offered me a job. My place found out that I wanted to leave, so they put more up on the table for me to stay. Fermilab was calling me, and then the school called me that I made the top 3. They want to do final interviews, and Jim was like, "Do it." He's like, "Trust me, I'm backing you. You really want to get this job."
Yeah.
So I went through all of that, and it was a real rough, what more problems can you have than waiting for jobs while I'm working?
Exactly.
It's like the best problem to have. And it was like 2 months of stress. And anybody that works at Marine, everything, it's like a hurry up and wait kind of cycle.
Yeah.
Like everything comes through and then you got to wait for all the boards to approve all your stuff and the deans and the paperwork and stuff like that. So it just so happened, my job offered me more money, and then Fermilab came through, like I said, and then the school is like, "You're the finalist.
Yeah.
We're going to send you an offer." Right? And so within like 3 weeks, all of that happened, and I was in like panic mode.
Yeah. How old were you at this time, by the way?
I was probably late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
It was, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah, exactly.
And, and you guys, everyone knows it's always hard to choose, out of 3 great things, because they were all great opportunities. And so I was like, I could use a change. I was working out in Aurora. I live in Burbank. The school was closer.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'll take that school job. And, I was kind of regretful.
Yeah.
Coming into a school environment, coming from the trades. When you're told you got to wear a suit and come in looking decent. You got to shave and comb your hair and which I don't have to worry about now. But so it was a real environment change for me. It was like a 180 going from where I was to the school environment. Again, I was going through the new hire stuff, and I really felt like I could fit in. This environment here, being at the school, it's it's out in the open, it's public, and
it's very inviting.
Yeah. You got to represent everybody. Everywhere I went, I was representing welding, so I had to be at the top of my game.
Exactly.
So like I said, that was about 10 years ago. And then I had gotten hired on full time, and now I'm our department chairman. So I kind of oversee HVAC and autos and all that other stuff. So this is by far the best job I've ever had. This working here, being a field worker, working out. I come here. I pull in this parking lot every time I come into class. I'm like, this is the best job anybody could ever ask for.
Yes.
So I'm very blessed by being here. And, I can't thank the school enough for everything they did. As you guys know, if you need anything here, there's somebody that'll help you.
Exactly.
The culture here is outstanding. It's shocking how people will go above and beyond just to help you out on stuff.
Exactly.
So
no matter what it is.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a good rest of your year and a good summer.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Anytime you want to have me, man, you let me know.
Oh, of course.
We'll come over and we can talk about anything.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.